Welcome to Rom Wills Money Matters. Small businesses have flexibility. I'm gonna tell you what, with everything going on, because we hearing all of the R word talk, recession talk, we hearing about the layoffs, businesses going out, major retail firms, companies are going out. There's one local, I don't want to call their name, but they're going out, having a going out of business sale. I can mention this one firm they ain't gonna do. Sears was like a retail institution. Now at a local mall, and for my Hartford County crew, shout out K Business Podcast. Yeah, I know what's up the street. Shoot, they built a grocery store there, and I'm still not sure which grocery store. But those bigger businesses, with everything happening, they still in trouble. We're not hearing the term retail apocalypse anymore. But here's the thing, and I was thinking about this because I was, driving through Bel Air, Maryland, and the middle of it, you got the businesses, the malls, strip malls, all of that, the town center and all of that, and of course there's some businesses going out. And I was thinking about it. In fact, I looked at one, but this one had just moved when I was driving out the parking lot of this one store. And all they did was just move to a bigger space. That's cool. But then I looked at that big space it left, and I was like, it might be there. In fact, there's a major restaurant, this is a huge space. They went out of business, and I'm thinking, man, they might be in trouble. It's going to be hard to deal with that space. Because it's zoned for, as far as I know, it's zoned for just retail, but who's going to come in that big space? Who's going to take that on? And I'm going to tell you what, the thing is, when you got a big business, it's hard for them to handle stuff. See, when you have a small business, you got a lot more flexibility. And even in the coming time, because all you really need is a good product or a good service, maybe both, and a good customer base who can keep you in business. Seriously, it's not a bad thing. No, you might not make millions of dollars, but shoot, you're in the top 10% if you make six figures with your business, and can even better if you can make six figures with your business, and then take out what you need for space rental, and which you might not have to worry about too much if you're a home business, but and you basically paying yourself, you put money back into the business if you need to, especially if you're doing products, maybe not so much with service, but, you can still stay in business, because the key there, you're dealing with a smaller group, but all you need is the right amount of customers. I never forget what this bookstore owner told me. One time he said, this was back in the day, he said he just needed 100 steady customers a month. That's just 100 stay in business. See, the thing is, when you're a small business, you don't need thousands of people coming through. See, one thing with the bigger businesses, they got a lot. Like I said, thousands. You need thousands of people, not just to walk through, but to buy stuff. They need the customers. And then if you think about a larger business, they got a lot more expenses. Obviously, because first of all, they got to pay the rent on a place. There was a major gym in the area that's closing after 42 years, but I heard from somebody who was coming from the gym, they were like $3 million behind their rent. And it was a big space. They're sitting on a block, But a smaller gym might have a little bit more flexibility. First of all, their rent is smaller. They don't have to hire as many people. Don't have to pay the same on utilities. And they could probably survive, maybe instead of needing maybe 1,000 members, several thousand members, they could survive maybe on a couple hundred members. And they more flexible. It's easier, because one thing about small businesses, any small business really supplies a niche. Like we have a cupcake business that does very well in the area. And they were actually on the Food Network one time. But they don't need thousands of people to come through. They just need people who repeat customers, sticky customers, are sticky. When I say sticky, people keep coming back. They don't need as much. And then since you're not as big, you're not paying as much really for supplies. Yeah, you getting supplies, you gotta get materials, you gotta make the stuff. You know, you gotta make the food, but you don't need as many. You just need enough. Or last week I mentioned something about a local vegan restaurant. I've only seen a few, when I've gone through, I've only seen a few people, but they've been there for a year. But depending, just looking at the spot where it's located, they probably don't pay that much in rent. And you know, they gotta take care of, you know, they gotta get the supplies and everything, food and everything to make, but they can stay there. All they need is, they don't need that many people. See, small businesses, see, that's the key. If you have a small business, like I say, I always say, either have a good product, good service, both, if depending on the nature of the business. But you're thinking about your customer base. You don't need as much. You're not paying a lot of stuff. Because think about, when you get the larger businesses, people don't realize how hard it is to really make money, because they got to pay so many. You got to pay the people to work there. You got to pay for the products. You know, like a large retail, you got to pay for the products, you got to pay the rent, you got to pay the utilities. You're going to have a certain amount of insurance. Depending on the size, you might have to pay medical insurance. There's so much you have to pay. Meanwhile, a small business, they can, especially if it's a small business and it's a solopreneur, they can skip out on a lot, you know? And depending on the nature, they work from home, okay. Yeah, they got to pay that mortgage or rent, but that's a different vibe from having to pay like some commercial property owner. You know, it's a lot there. So you cutting that off. If you're a solopreneur, small business, you don't have to pay health insurance like for other people. You can pay. It's advisable to pay it for yourself. But it's not the same expenses. And then if you look at a lot of these big retail places going out of business, what they have is a ton of stuff. They got different products. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. But one thing with a small business, of course, is not going to carry that much, but very specific. They have very specific products that they're going to carry. But then, you know, there's so many ways that they can actually get it out. Now, the other week I said brick and mortar isn't going any place because, you know, you have people thinking everything's going to be online. But what I specifically said in that video is if you have a brick and mortar, it's smart to also have an online presence. So say you're a small business, small retail place. Say you're selling books. You know, I love bookstores. All right. All you need is maybe a few hundred customers, steady customers a month, bibliophiles, people who definitely fans of the type of books you sell. Like the type of books you sell could be on a specific area. Like you have some many stores across the country. They had a dip, but now they're starting to rise back up. Stores that sell specifically books by Black writers, you know, and then you got other books that specifically are tailored to a specific community, comic book stores and everything. I mean, use a comic book store. That's more universal. Anybody can relate to that. You know, my local comic book store, they only have 2 workers that I've seen in there. And it has 2 locations, only 2 workers. And you only need 1 worker per time in there, unless they're having a special event. You only need 1 worker. So it's like they're paying for that space. And of course, they're paying for the product and everything. You know, they pay the 1 worker. I don't know if they have health insurance or anything, but still, you don't have to pay as much. And then you have a niche community. Remember, I've talked before about having a community. As best as possible, try to have a community around your product as best as possible, or service. It's not going to always happen, but if you can, that's great. You know, but you can have steady customers if you're doing a good job, repeat customers. They can keep you in business. You got more. See, you don't have to worry about appealing to thousands of people. You just have to keep your niche up. And since, you know, it could be, okay, let me use a comic book example. One thing about that, someone can grow their niche. Because if you got 1 comic book fan, they got friends, they say, hey, get it from here. Boom. You know, so you got more flexibility because most small businesses, they really appeal to specific communities, specific niches. And it's not dependent on the stock market or corporate executives who got CEOs who got like making millions and stuff. because that's a problem. That's a whole other conversation. You know, you got more flexibility. All you have to do is, the only thing a small business might have to worry about is if they are supplied by a major business that's having trouble. But even then, you can most likely go to a different supplier. So that's the biggest thing. And yeah, and there's still some stuff there, because if you have a small business and like a little restaurant takeout place, and you next to some factory or something that goes out, manufacturing factory that goes out of business, yeah, you could be in trouble there. But in general, small businesses are very good. Indeed, this country is really built off of small businesses, and should really. And you have even some government officials realize, hey, you know, we got to make sure we support them, because most people who even have jobs are working for small businesses who are able to hire employees. So you still have more flexibility in everything. All right. So anyway, I want y'all to think about that. I want y'all to really think about that. So that's all I have for now. Y'all know the deal. Let's go make that money.